Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meditales with the Portatile Doctor, where I will review the accuracy and realistic feasibility of medical contents found in scripted and unscripted works, such as movies, TV shows, adverts, novels, and books, to facilitate public health education. Don't forget to visit our website and blog today. So, moving on to something exciting, we will be reviewing. Can I get some drum rolls, please? 4444, a 2022 Nollywood movie that was produced by Winifred Unusual. Now, the story 4444 tells of a young bride, Teresa, who was a victim of lead poisoning on her wedding day. Now, following which she subsequently suffered a mental illness as a complication, and the medium of exposure depicted in the movie was a contaminated drinking water that was offered to her while dancing on her wedding day. Now, food and water can easily get contaminated from pollutants in our environment, for example, soil, old piping systems, building materials, environmental pollutants into our food or water sources. Now, we do not know where the perpetrator sourced for this contaminant and how she supposedly got a large volume in such a small quantity of water with the intent to cause harm. It would have served an educative purpose to identify a source of lead in one's environment, which could easily contaminate food and water supply to raise public awareness. The movie's setting appeared to be in the early 20s, peri-independence period, in which community water supply was largely through water pipes, which usually contain lead. Therefore, it is plausible that the perpetrator was aware of an abandoned water pipe in her local community that was no longer in use due to known lead contamination. Lead is a known environmental contaminant. However, before it can lead to significant medical complications, the exposure has to be frequent over a period of time or a high volume of contamination to lead to acute or chronic medical complications due to the systemic effect of lead. The narrator in the movie reported the blood lead levels were high, but we do not know just how much from the small gulps of water she drank that led to this value. The hospital scene is quite blurry and rushed. It is difficult to make out what exactly was done for her while on admission at the hospital because this appears to determine the outcome and the fate she had to experience for the rest of her life. Clinical symptoms from lead poisoning take time to develop, although in sudden exposure to high volumes, systemic shutdown may result in shock in medical emergency, which was the scenario in this movie. The time from exposure to onset of symptoms and hospital presentation can be estimated to be a few hours within the same day. The small volume of water she drank and severe symptoms she displayed may not be plausible in reality. It is rather surprising how the medical facility made the diagnosis of lead poisoning as such a brief encounter. It lends the assumption that the medical facility had toxicology services to ascertain for certain that it was lead and at high volume that accounted as the cause of her acute presentation and sequelae. It is odd that a medical facility able to carry out toxicology screening could not manage such a condition, especially when there was no scene to depict a confession by the perpetrator while she was being evaluated, hence raising the level of suspicion to the managing medical team. It is possible that the era and location in which the movie was shot may suggest unavailability or lack of access to appropriate medical care. The groom appeared to be proactive, financially buoyant to cater for her medical expenses, as well as knowledgeable foreigners who could inform referral to facilities where appropriate care might be accessible and available. The outlook from the narrative and the unfolding story appears hopeless, with a resigned fate and attempts to cope with the sequelae. There are various treatments for lead poisoning, which includes chelation, which could have been useful in the acute phase and with a good chance of recovery due to early presentation at the medical facility. The narrator informs the audience that mental illness was a resultant complication of the lead poisoning. However, we do not see the subtle change in cognition, mood instability, and psychotic episodes over a period of time. This period appears to be skipped. The story is fast forwarded to a period of frank psychosis with periods of relative normalcy. At this point in time, she already has children, some in adolescence. It is important to show this important period, as these are the symptoms that subsequently contribute to diagnostic formulation of the type of mental illness she was suffering from, as this would educate members of the public on symptoms they can look out for in persons with undiagnosed medical illness, which would encourage early presentation of affected people and early treatment. There is another odd component of the storyline. Teresa was affected by high levels of lead, which could cause infertility. As lead poisoning has significant systemic effects, it is rather surprising that she gave birth to multiple healthy children with no congenital abnormalities or medical problems. The movie also displays the psychosocial and emotional impact of having a relative with mental illness, as a spouse or parent, as well as the accompanying stigma. It was a good attempt to display the experience of the family unit who tried to cope with the affected relative and the support given. I would say kudos to the team who made the movie a reality. But however, attempts would have been made to account for the impact of lead in her in terms of other systemic functioning, as well as the children she gave birth to. It would have been important to establish that side of the story to be able to give credence to the fact that it's a fact that lead poisoning was indeed the culprit that was responsible for her psychotic illness. The overall level of medical accuracy, I would say, is average, and there's room for improvement. So, what are you waiting for? Visit us today at www.posita.org.ng. Posital, quality of life getting better.